Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Today
Hello.
is, what's today?
Monday, the 25th.
Monday? Seriously? It's the
Yeah,
25th?
it's almost June.
My gosh, you guys, it's almost Kate's birthday month. Woot, woot. It's almost
Are
my
you a
birthday month.
Gemini?
I'm most certainly a Gemini. If you haven't been able to tell from
I love a Gemini.
all the wonderful experiences you've had with me. So yes, I'm a Gemini. So like you said, it's May 25th. And Maria, it was funny. Like yesterday I was thinking, what are we going to be talking about today? Because I feel like it's been forever.
Yeah, it's felt like a really long week.
Yeah, it felt like such a long week. And I was like, we've done like 3 of these already. And I was like, oh no, we've only done one Facebook Live, but we've done, 6 weeks via Zoom. So um, everyone out there who's listening to us right now or listening to us via the recording, Maria and I started doing parent webinars 7 weeks ago.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Um,
know.
our company, Evidence Based Classroom Solutions, when this whole COVID-19 thing started, we really wanted to continue to support teachers because we contract through public school systems and we go and work with teachers to work with the students. And when we got into that, we just could see the outcry of support needed for parents too, because, we were supporting the teachers, but we are now in this weird middle ground where it's like the parents are no longer the parents. They also have the hat of being the teacher too. But, the terminology we were using in the school webinars was for individuals who had already, they'd gone through extensive training. And, as parents, there is no training for, being a parent. And, so we wanted to do some kind of support system for you guys out there. So we take concepts that are commonly used in school systems, and we break them down to be a little bit user friendly for parents. But again, we wanted to show you that the strategies and the tools that we're teaching you guys, informing you guys about, are not rocket science. It is based on a science of applied behavior analysis, but because the tools we are using are evidence based. But again, we just want to help you. Yeah. And so please feel free to make a comment on our Facebook page on this video.
I'll try to look.
Yeah, send us a message, do whatever. If you have anything that comes up and you're like, I need help in this, feel free, because we will try to figure out a way to help you and support you. That's what we're here for.
Definitely.
So I know that things are kind of wrapping up with e-learning and virtual classrooms and whatnot as the school year ends, but we're going into summer. And I mean, probably a lot of those things you would have done during summer, you've already done. So we're just here, the tools that we're using didn't have to start at the very beginning. They can start right now. So they're here to make your life easier at any point of the year. So go ahead, Maria, let's get started.
All right. So reinforcement versus punishment. Help, it's not working. And I know we didn't start like this last time, Kate, but I really want to start this way. Punishment and reinforcement are consequence and interventions. So remember, we talked about those ABCs last time: the antecedent, the behavior, consequence. So reinforcement and punishment are two types. Punishment does not mean what we thought about when we were younger, or like when we think of it in an old school way. We're going to really jump into it. Just try to not think about it in the way that you usually do.
Basically what she's saying is have a clear mind.
Yeah.
Be open to the possibilities that what we're saying is we're not in this very black and white land of good and bad, right or wrong. We're here and just providing you resources and evidence-based practices for you to decide how you want to change behavior. So
I am excited about this one. Like usually, like I'm not as excited about doing this one, but I really like when people find out that like, oh, that's what punishment means. Oh, that's what actually
Mhm.
reinforcement means. That's crazy.
Yep, I agree. Oh, wait, you know what, Maria? Before we like jump, you can stay on this slide. I feel like we should first introduce ourselves. Like it's just us. Like
Oh,
we just start talking. Okay, so background on us before we get into the nitty gritty. So you're like, who are these two crazy girls, and should I really be listening to them?
yes, you
My
should.
name is Kate West Hazelwood. I am a board certified behavior analysis, and I am also a certified K through 12 teacher. With an emphasis in special education. And so that is my primary background. After teaching for several years, I really felt the push to go into the behavior world because I feel like for me personally, I feel like that's a very important foundation that needs to be set in order to reach our highest potential. So that's Kate. That's me.
Hi, Kate. And sorry. And I'm Maria DiLuceni. I am a behavior specialist. Some of my past work includes I worked doing in-home ABA. I worked in a children's psychiatric hospital, and then I've also worked in alternative schools for children, or I want to say adolescents with disabilities. And one of the reasons that I'm doing these webinars is because this is meant for parents. And I did a lot of work with parents when I did in-home ABA.
Yep. So you have, in my opinion, the best of both worlds. So I think what we're going to talk about is we're going to do a little review of the functions of the ABA, since, we talked a lot about that last week, but I think it's important for us just to review it because we want it to become so fluid for you as parents that you're able to recognize it on a day-to-day basis. We're then going to be really discussing what's the goal. What are you wanting to see change? We're then going to just describe reinforcement, describe punishment, and then we're going to have a quick game where we get to decide if the scenario is describing reinforcement or punishment. And of course, if you have any questions or need of support, we're going to fill it in during that time of question and answers to chat with us. So during that time, we will be looking at our phones to make sure we're not missing any questions.
We're watching.
That's what I'm doing. Okay, let's get started.
All right, so those 4 functions of behavior, we like to remember it as the 4 A's. So attention, seeking attention from preferred individuals. That could be your spouse, your partner, siblings, parents, the mailman, the garbage man, whomever. If you're trying to get their attention, and it doesn't have to be good or bad. It just, I just want somebody to pay attention to me. So it's important we remember, like, sorry, I just blanked.
No. It was funny because I was with a group of ladies this weekend for the first time at saying Bon Voyage to a very close friend of ours, and one of the parents was describing a situation where the child had fallen, just taken a nasty fall, and they got up and they were completely fine. And the kid got up and started looking around at his parents or his or her parents and was like, are they going to respond? And he's not wanting to yet start full on crying, but he's looking to see if mom and dad are paying attention. And this mom had said, she's like, I just looked at the corner, do, oh, look, you're fine, because she didn't want to give attention.
Oh,
does that make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Because and that's funny, you think about it, it's a kid falls, they get hurt, but I've even thought about it with my nephews. They've gotten hurt, they stand up and they're quiet for the first 3 seconds, and then I'm like, oh, are you okay? And they're like,
and then the waterworks come down.
I'm not okay. Please help me. I need a kiss here. And I'm like, okay. But it's funny because it's I was thinking about that for this purpose. And I'm like, wow. Yeah. The attention right there. Even you got hurt and, you get up and you're okay. But it's we've now been taught when I fall down, if I get up and I start crying, I'm going to get attention. They're going to come over and they're going to give me all the hugs and kisses. Maybe I'll even get, a cookie and make me feel better. So it's we start with that attention and then we gain access to a few other things. You know what I mean? You're
I was just thinking of the class clown.
Yeah.
Last clown always wanted attention, whether they were being like goofy or like, you know, whether like the teacher, you know, yelled at them like, be quiet, like that's still, you're still giving him or her
Attention.
attention. Like
Yep.
it, and that's where I mean, is it, you know, doesn't matter if it's good or bad attention.
Yep. Agreed.
So the next one, that avoidance escape. So this can be task avoidance or trying to escape a current task. The example that I always like to give is if I said, hey, Kate, like it's time to do your homework, come to the table. She comes to the table, she starts doing her homework, and then she just leaves. She is escaping. She already started doing the work. She is escaping the situation. But if I say, hey, Kate, it's time to do your homework, and she never comes down and she never starts her homework, she's completely avoided doing that task. So
And
that's
I'm sure,
just go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, like, I'm sure a lot of parents have been seeing this avoidance escape, especially for those non-preferred activities. You know what I mean? Like clean up the playroom. It's time for us to set the table, you know, where kids are just like, they are having a tantrum, they're hitting, they're spitting. Because think about it, like when they, like, let's just use hitting for example, like, you know, like a kid hits you on the cheek and they're like, no, I don't want to, you know, what's our next reaction? It's then to say, go to your room, or we start talking to them. And
Yep.
what have we done? Like, we are now only giving them that escape. Now, again, like you said, you know, they're not getting the hugs or kisses for this, but they're still, the primary function of their behavior of, you know, slapping or saying no or spitting or any of that was to escape. And so the fact that you're either having a talk with them about why you shouldn't be hitting mommy or daddy, or, you know, why you shouldn't be throwing a tantrum, like you go to your room, like it's just important to think about. You know what I mean? Like our functions of behavior can change. It's not going to be always attention. It's not going to be always access. I kind of think of it like, like we're not going to get into the whole mentalistic circular thinking on personality types, but
A Gemini and traits. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
That is circular reasoning though.
so true though, because like think about it, you know, like I can say, oh, I'm such a type A, you know, personality. And so like very, you know, throughout the day, characteristics demonstrate that type A personality. With this, based on the setting, is if we're trying the function of our behavior. Does that make sense, Maria?
Yeah, it definitely does. And like an example with like an older kid I like to think about, because I did this when I was younger, you know, I'm not proud of who I was when I was a teenager. You know,
but I'm so proud of who you are now.
Now, you know, I've come a long way, but like, you know, I would say some mean stuff to get out of doing work. Like, cause I know I'm going to get sent to my room. I'm going to, you know, completely escape or avoid the situation. And it worked every time. It worked.
Yeah.
So like, I learned like, you can say mean things to not have to like be downstairs around people or do this or do that. Cause my mom would just be like, go away, get out of here. Like you're so mean. And it's true. I was so mean.
But I think that's just something to think about, especially as we talk throughout this, like Facebook live feed, presentation, webinar, whatever it is. So
yeah,
I just wanted to bring that up. Yeah.
So the next one is access. So gaining those preferred items or activities. The big one always is that iPad, any tangible, edible, you know, just something that you really, really want.
I think about like pre-COVID-19 and we could go to grocery stores. I know that some states are opening up. I'm currently in North Carolina and we're just starting to open up outside. But I think about the kid that starts screaming, right? And crying and crying and crying and crying and crying.
To get that candy bar?
Get the candy bar. Or when you're sitting at dinner, for them just to get the phone. You know what I mean? Because as soon as we hand them this phone, waterworks are done. They're like, okay.
Like a genie.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Or it's like when we're in the grocery store and you're finally done, kid sees the candy, they start screaming for candy and you're just like, fine, take it, move on. And as soon as that candy bar's in their hand, no more crying. They're fine. You're like, are you kidding me? Yeah. So that's just like an example of access before all of this craziness.
Yeah. And then that last one, automatic reinforcement. So this one can be a confusing one. You know, people talk about like that stimming behavior, but all automatic reinforcement means is it does not require another person to obtain. So I always use this example, but like,
It's a good one.
the rocking back and forth, that's the part of that stimming one. Or even we see kids, do things with their hands, like that can be automatic reinforcement, but it can be as simple as, I have an itch right here. I myself, Maria, am going to itch it. I'm doing it myself. I don't need you, Kate, whomever to do it for me. I automatically reinforce myself by relieving that itch.
I think Ted has also talked about this some and mentioned some things that I was like, oh wow, that really is stemming for me. Like,
I think Chad did a hammock. Yeah, I heard you say that.
When I twist my hair, and like I learned it, like, because I remember I would watch like my mom when we were driving, and she would, like, we were stuck in traffic because we lived in a really big city. She would just sit there and twirl her hair. And as I've gotten older too, like, I've picked up on this behavior, and I just end up twirling my hair. So you know what I like? It's stemming behavior doesn't have to always be this. This misunderstood idea that it's always
sensory.
Yeah. Like, it's just, I'm sitting here and I'll twirl it. And I've noticed it when I've like gone back and watched our webinars, like, wow, like let's count the frequency on how many times Kate twirls her hair.
I mean, I just talk with my hands because I'm stereotypical. So we could go back and count all that.
Please don't, anybody.
Yeah, no, I don't. I already know that I do this behavior,
Yes.
I don't need to be reminded.
Yes. So that's the function of the behavior. Now the ABCs of behavior, right? Antecedent, behavior, consequence. Remember, the antecedent is the when and the where. We are wanting to know the events that occurred before the behavior occurred. Now, a lot of times people will say, like, so I'm going to use a school example. Oh, it happens in math all the time. Okay, well, that's the setting, okay? I want to now know, what was that antecedent trigger? Was it the presentation of a task? Was it the student was given back a piece of paper and it said F? You know what I mean? Like, what was that antecedent trigger? Then the behavior is, what was the behavior of the individual? And remember, we want to focus on it being measurable and observable. So, meaning I need to be able to see it, I can hear it, to then count it, just think of it that way. We, when we're really thinking about the ABCs behavior, we're not dismissing people's feelings or anything like that, but we're really focused on that measurable and observable. So if someone was like, oh, the kid is really sad, or they're feeling really anxious, I'm not dismissing that those are happening for the individual. What we're more focused on is, what does that look like?
Yeah, because that's a private event. And like what Kate's saying is, we can't measure private events. Like, I could be sitting here right now and be really, really anxious. You guys can't see it. You guys can't hear it. You could count how many times I've said I'm really anxious while sitting here doing this presentation. But other than that, that's a private event.
And so that's why, again, like we're saying, not dismissing it, just really looking for what's something that I can measure and that I can observe. And that, because, again, the reason why I keep annoyingly saying, why do you keep saying measuring and observing? Because decisions that we make for intervention, for changes of behavior, are based on data.
And that's our game. We want to change behavior. That's the whole point. If we can't see it, how can we change it?
How can we change it? And appropriately at that. And so then the consequence is, what happens after the behavior occurred? So, and remember, we're really looking at the perspective of the individual. So school is such an easy way for me to present an example, and then you can apply it to home. So I think about that kid that sits next to me at carpet time, right? And I'm wearing my hair in pigtails, and he just pulled my pigtails, and my teacher says, go to the office, to that student who pulled my pigtails. Now, from that situation, it happens the next day. We sit down at carpet, pulls my pigtail, what happens? Next day, the teacher says, you know what, I'm going to move this friend to another spot, does something else to another kid, sent to the office. The pattern that we're seeing is that the consequence is, antecedent setting is, remember, carpet time. Carpet time. The antecedent trigger is like, okay, kids, we're going to be reading a book. Kid does, pulled on a pigtail, and the teacher says, go to the office. So now we're seeing this reoccurring pattern of, in carpet time, after we pull someone's hair or do something silly to somebody, we go to the office. I'm thinking that I can hypothesize that maybe the function of this pulling of the hair behavior is to escape having to be at carpet. But that's such an easy, that's, that's after we've collected the data with knowing what was the consequence. But again, that's directly after the behavior occurred. It's not about, what happens 3 days later or 2 days later, or 30 minutes later. We're looking at what happened right after the behavior occurred.
And this goes back to that thing that I was saying about the consequence earlier. A consequence, all it means is what happens after the behavior. Doesn't mean anything about being good or bad. It's just what literally happens. So let's try to take out that negative connotation we have a lot of times with the word consequence. I know, like, at least when I was growing up, consequence meant something bad, like, oh, Maria, if you don't do your homework, there's going to be consequences. And I just have always thought of it as a bad thing, because it would be kind of silly if you heard your parents say, Maria, since you got an A, there's going to be consequences. Like, no, we never heard that. That would be silly.
No. But here's an example of something positive. I'm not even going to make it for kids. Any of the ladies out there listening, I'm going to use our spouse or our partners. Mm-hmm. So I send my partner out to the grocery store with a list. He came back from the grocery store with everything on the list. And as we're unpacking, I'm super pumped, right? Because in the past, the behavior was, they, would forget a few things. So then I have to go back to the grocery store, this or that. And, the groceries come in, sets them down. As I'm looking through, I'm like, wow, they got everything on the list. Now, my behavior could have just been to ignore it, put the groceries away and move on with life. Or if I wanted this behavior to continue to happen,
which we do.
Yes, which we do. Because, ladies, there's not always time to go to the grocery store, all the time. I say to my partner, hey, thank you so much for getting, I really appreciate you going to the grocery store this time. I think we got everything we need, so we don't need to go back out.
Like, you're the bomb.com.
Yeah, like that.
Love you.
That is super reinforcing, where in the past I've been like, great.
Thanks.
You forgot toilet paper again. You know what I mean? Like, when we do that, that's not reinforcing.
Why would I do it again if you were just like,
Yeah. So think of it that way. Like, if someone, when I'm working with a kid, I've done a little bit of some virtual things, working with the parent and the kid, and, they do something correct. I'm like, give me an air high five. And we do air high fives like that. It's, hey, that is an example of praise. That is an immediate consequence that happens after the appropriate behavior.
That or even like the shoulders, like some kids don't really like high fives. So we're like, little squeeze here and there, good job. Yeah. Yep. It all just depends. We all have our own preferred reinforcers.
Yep. And so we're going to talk about that some more, but we're really wanting to focus on what is occurring. And really, there is a consequence after every behavior. Mm-hmm. The presentation of something or the presentation of nothing. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. What's the goal? So we're wanting to focus on either we're going to increase the future frequency of behavior or wanting to decrease the future frequency of behavior. With that increasing, we're wanting that behavior to keep happening. With decreasing future frequency of behavior, we're wanting that behavior to stop. So what's a good example?
Well, I mean, your last example, you want your partner, I don't know if we're saying names, but you want him to keep going to the store. We want Seth to keep going to the store, okay?
For sure.
It makes life easier.
Much. So I need to keep praising. I need to keep providing some kind of positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement. Positive reinforcement would be me saying, great job. I'm adding
something.
I'm adding that positive praise. I'm adding that extra hug. Negative reinforcement would be, I say, like, I'm nagging him. Oh, you forgot this. Oh, you forgot that. Oh, you didn't do this. Oh, you didn't do that. He doesn't want to hear my voice anymore like that. So he's going to make sure the next time he makes sure to get all the groceries. So that makes sense. So I'm like,
he's removing Kate's voice,
nagging voice.
That nagging voice, because it's aversive. Like, it's not like he doesn't like it.
Yep.
So we're removing something aversive.
But I want you guys to take note. You're like, well, that doesn't make sense because, like, you're doing something negative, Kate, that's making him keep doing the behavior. Like, wait. So what we're saying is, let's say the inappropriate behavior did happen. I want that to stop, right? So help me out, Maria, to make sure I'm saying it clearly.
Yeah.
I'm wanting that inappropriate behavior to stop. I'm tired of him going to the grocery store and forgetting the milk or the eggs or the spinach or the toilet paper. Those are necessities. I kind of can't live without those.
Especially the TP, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So what I can do is I need to decide, do I want to increase that future frequency of behavior or do I want to decrease that future frequency of behavior? I want to decrease him forgetting. So I'm going to provide some kind of reinforcement I'm going to provide some kind of punishment so we stop forgetting things, but I also need to provide some kind of reinforcement when the appropriate behavior is done to make sure it keeps happening. So clear that up for me. It's a little confusing. I know.
Yeah. So like if it was, we can go through it all. Like if it was, we were trying to do positive punishment of Seth not forgetting things at the store. Like when he gets home from the grocery store, we're going to add something aversive. So Kate could be like, Seth, why did you forget it? Seth, like, she's adding that language in that's aversive to decrease him in the future from forgetting things at the store. Does that make sense?
Yep. Makes complete sense. Clear up my thoughts, please.
And then, so negative punishment is we're going to remove something preferred to decrease the future frequency of Seth forgetting something at the grocery store. Yep. Do you have an example?
I'm just trying to think because it's getting kind of confusing with like, it could be an example of positive of reinforcement or punishment. Let me get back to you on that one, but let's think of some things to increase that future frequency, right? Positive reinforcement would be, again, praising, giving an extra little hug, and then negative reinforcement. Yeah, good job. Thanks, Seth, for doing that. Here's a sticker.
He might want some stickers, especially the smelly kind that you can like scratch and sniff.
Valid. What would be an example of negative reinforcement? That aversive?
Any example?
For negative reinforcement of like Seth's behavior, forgetting stuff. You know what I mean?
So we want to remove something to increase that behavior. So maybe he has to go to the store less in the future.
Yes. So let's say because I think I think just in this presentation, we got a little confused ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh my, it happens, you guys.
It's really confusing.
It happens. And so that's why we're clearing it up like this. You got to talk it out. Exactly why we keep saying, have a buddy. So back to the original thing. Let's say this week, Seth goes to the grocery store. He buys everything. I am so excited. I say, you know what, Seth? I'm going to go to the grocery store next week. You got everything? I'm going to go. He's pumped. You know what I mean?
He hates the grocery store.
Just as much as I hate the grocery store. So it's important. So I've now taken an aversive away. And he's like, oh. So the next time he does have to go to the grocery store, he's like, well, maybe if I get everything on the list again, she's going to go the next time. There's that example.
So now, increasing the future frequency of behavior is reinforcement. Yes.
So the nagging though, like where would nagging fall, Maria?
So I would say positive punishment. You are adding something aversive. Are we decreasing or increasing the behavior?
Yes. So if I keep nagging over and over every week, I'm nagging. I'm saying, Seth, you forgot this. Seth, you forgot this. Why can't you remember to get the milk? But the behavior seems to keep happening. Is my nagging really changing behavior? Yes or no?
It depends. Is he still going to the groceries?
He's still going to the grocery store and still forgetting things. So no, it's absolutely not. Now, again, you guys, I
hope he's not hearing this.
He probably is. I'm not really talking about you. We're just using that as an example because it's easier to look at something a little bit more relatable first to then put it to a kid perspective. So that's a prime example of if I keep nagging and the behavior doesn't change, either increasing or decreasing, then it's not reinforcement or punishment. It's just a thing. I'm just nagging to nag and probably becoming really annoying. So that's something to think about. Okay, you guys. So Maria, now that you know,
just some more examples.
Yeah. Well, and especially I think because I actually am glad that we messed up a little bit because we were able to catch ourselves and show, are we going to be mad at ourselves? No, because this is life, you guys. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to have to be like, wait, rewind. I need to reevaluate. And that's what you do.
It's funny. I was watching, there's this app called, or this group of people there called Study Notes ABA. Love them. I was watching a collective of theirs last night, and I was watching it on reinforcement and punishment, surprisingly. And they messed up while teaching this. I mean, they, fixed the error, but it's like, we all get so confused about this. It is not, it's just a tongue twister at you're trying to talk about all of them at once, like positive reinforcement, negative, like wait, what punishment? I don't know what I'm talking about. Like,
so mom and dad out there who have been feeling like you just aren't doing anything right, take it from Maria and I, who just messed up on the live Facebook video, webinar, whatever this is. It's okay. Give yourself a little grace. Say, well, I'm going to fix it for next time. So here we are, Maria, let's fix it for next time, but let's use an example with kids. And let's try to do a home example. So
let's say toilet training for the first one. So if we're going to,
okay, you go for it.
I want to increase, we're going to just use the word or name Sam. I don't know any child named Sam, everybody, but so I want Sam to go to the bathroom. Like, I want to increase the future frequency of his behavior. So if I want him, if I want Sam to keep going to the bathroom, I need to use reinforcement. Correct, Kate?
Very much so.
I want to increase him going to the bathroom.
Yep.
So Sam goes to the bathroom. He's a rock star. Awesome. After he goes to the bathroom, like, you're amazing. Like, high five. Let's get it. Like, Sam loves Oreos. Let's get an Oreo because you use the bathroom because you're the best. I have to interrupt. Go ahead.
I have to interrupt because I think of the last couple of weeks we were in school. A teacher was like really heavily working on some potty training. And this one kid walks out of the bathroom, he's like, I pooped. And we're like, yeah! We're like a cheerleading squad. And this kid just starts beaming. Oh. And so then we had other kids that were going through the same process. And when they walked out, they're like, I took my pants off. Like, just little things. And we're like, yay. So we were reinforcing like those behaviors that they were doing. Like, they were all in different steps. But we wanted to make sure that we were reinforcing the appropriate behavior to get them to continue that future frequency of that behavior to then go to the next step and the next step, which was like.
So your friend now knows, like, oh my gosh, I just had this cheerleading squad behind me, cheer me on. I want that to, especially if I like attention, if that's my function of behavior, I'm going to do it again because I love the attention. I want them to come up and like cheer me on.
And see, and so in that case with that kid, like, we just had to be cheerleading squad. But for this case, like, this kid, your child comes out of the bathroom and they're like, I did it. Maybe the whole cheering thing isn't a big deal, but that Oreo is, like you said. So it's like, let's go get an Oreo. You did so good in the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like, and it sounds silly. You're like, why would I give them food? And it's like,
right.
No. You're going to fade out the Oreo eventually. We're going to fade out the cheerleading squad.
But let's just say Sam really hates going to the bathroom. And I know he really loves Oreos. So we're going to start with that.
And we want to increase that future frequency of behavior. Yes. So Maria, in that case, the cheerleading squad, the Oreo, something is being added following that appropriate behavior, correct?
Right, correct.
And so we are using an example of positive reinforcement. Perfect.
Awesome.
So what would be, I think this is a pretty easy one, but what would be an example of negative reinforcement for potty training?
Do you want to give your example?
No, you go.
Oh,
using potty training. I'm just curious what you were going to say.
So we are removing, I have to talk it through, guys. Like, this is, like I was saying, that tongue twister. So we're removing something aversive to increase Sam going to the bathroom.
I have to go to the bathroom. My belly is full. It starts to get really tight on my pants.
Oh, like it's almost like a relief thing.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah.
Yes. So just going to the like your tummy hurts. So the kids are like, oh, my tummy hurts.
Ate too many Oreos.
You ate too many Oreos or you drank too much juice. And
so that aversive, like we're trying to remove something aversive, that pain is aversive.
Mhm.
So going to the bathroom, that makes it, go away.
Yeah, that's why, like when we have, the kids are like, oh, my belly hurts. Oh, my belly hurts. Like, after we're like, go to the bathroom. And so, eventually they get to a certain age where they're like, I need to go to the bathroom. Like, my belly hurts. Like, it's just been reinforced so much that they now are doing that. They've learned. Yeah. So I just want to see if you get there, and you did. Check.
Thanks, girl.
So what would be a behavior? Let's keep going on potty. Like, let's keep going. Let's keep talking about toilet training. We want to decrease the future frequency of behavior. So what's something we might want to decrease in the bathroom?
So I guess we could say that we have a friend, we'll use Sam again. Sam is, maybe escaping to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
We want to decrease him going to the bathroom. Like, he runs in there to maybe avoid me when I come over, and it's like, hey, we're doing our ABA in home. And it's like, oh no, Miss Maria's here. I gotta I'm gonna bolt, hopefully I already paired myself with Sam, and this actually wasn't happening. But we want to decrease Sam going into the bathroom. So if we wanted to use a positive punishment procedure, we want to add something aversive to decrease him doing that. Mm-hmm. So maybe, I have messed up examples. So maybe me just yelling no, no, you can't do that. And it scares him. It throws him off. Oh, I can't do that. That. So I'm adding me yelling no, that I'm adding something aversive, decreases Sam from running to the bathroom because maybe it scared him, or, mm-hmm. not to label his feelings, but do you have another example? Is that okay?
No, that's fine. Keep going, because I have another example we could use in the bathroom. So what's an example of negative punishment?
So let's walk it through again. So we are removing something preferred to decrease a behavior. So let's say we take away Sam's iPad every time he runs into
the bathroom and
into the bathroom. So I know he really likes the iPad, so I'm removing that. So he I tell him, Sam, I took this away because you ran into the bathroom. We're not doing that anymore. Mm-hmm. So I want in the future for Sam not to do, for him to remember, oh, Miss Maria took away my iPad when I run into the bathroom. So I'm not going to run into the bathroom anymore, or it's going to, decrease.
I think so here's an example. Let's talk about in the bathroom where we leave the water running, you know what I mean? Or you put too much toothpaste on. Mm-hmm. You're not wanting that behavior to happen anymore. You want your child to put on, water comes on to wash hands, we turn it off. We don't just play in the water, right?
Right.
You put toothpaste
on.
Water
bill is expensive, guys.
Yeah. Toothbrush, with the toothpaste, we don't need to use squish it all. I saw this funny video on Facebook where the parent was showing what our kids actually do in the bathroom, and they're brushing their teeth, and then they put some on their hand and they're smearing it on the mirror.
Oh, that's lovely.
So we want the toothpaste to go on the toothbrush. So then we could put in place some kind of positive punishment or negative punishment, right? Mm-hmm. To decrease the inappropriate behavior in the bathroom.
Right.
So let's use an example. Let's make it,
well, and we have a bunch of examples after this too.
Oh, we do? I completely forgot. So
I'm pretty sure.
Let's go
remember,
to it.
Before we move on, reinforcement. We are increasing the future frequency of behavior. I want that behavior to keep happening. Kate, what is punishment? Sorry.
Punishment is decreasing the future frequency of behavior. So it's funny, the title of this is Help, Nothing is Working, right? So you need to be thinking, is the behavior continuing to happen? Or, and if so, are you wanting it to stop? So it's really think of it that way. My kid is throwing a tantrum on the floor. Every time they throw a tantrum, I go and pick them up and I say, what's wrong, sweetie? And then we have a really good cuddle and talking session. If this happens every single day, you are probably reinforcing the behavior of the tantrum. No judgment again, but just something to keep in mind, right? So here it is, reinforcement. Reinforcement has occurred when a behavior is followed immediately by a change that increases the future frequency of a similar behavior. So positive reinforcement, we've talked about this so much. Adds or gives something preferred. It increases the behavior.
So I could say, Kate, you're doing such an awesome job right now, like doing this webinar or live stream. So I'm adding something. I'm adding that positive praise because next time I want Kate to keep doing an awesome job.
I will. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Totally. So negative reinforcement, remove something aversive, right? And then that still increases behavior. And you're like, wait, we've added something and we've removed something. Positive reinforcement adds something and it increases behavior. Negative reinforcement removes something aversive and it continues to increase our behavior.
So I like to give this example, like I have a headache. That's something aversive. I want to take that away.
Yep.
I'm going to take an Advil or an Excedrin, whatever you prefer. I'm an Excedrin girl, but I want to remove that headache. It hurts. So next time I have a headache, I'm going to, take my Excedrin because it went, that aversive thing, that headache went away. So every time in the future, I'm going to, take an Excedrin.
Yep. And so with children, let's think of that example. I've talked about the tantrum behavior, but let's say something positive. Maybe they clean up the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we clean up the dishes, it's dinner time and the kid just naturally picks up their plate and they go and put their plate in the dishwasher or the sink, whatever you guys have established as the routine for where the dishes go.
Mm-hmm.
And after you do that, you're like, wow, thank you so much for taking your dishes. What's really funny, and I think I was this kind of kid too, as soon as someone was like, wow, thanks for taking your dishes, I seemed to come back and was like, oh, can I take your dish? Can I help you with this? Like, you know what I mean? So clearly that reinforcement of that positive praise, like thanks for cleaning up your dishes, increased the future frequency of my behavior. I went back for more. I wanted more positive praise. Negative reinforcement, remove something aversive.
So maybe I had told you, Kate, like after you did your dishes, you need to take out the trash. Hey, you don't have to take out the trash anymore because you brought your dish to the sink.
Perfect. Or another example, with the dining room table, we have broccoli and Brussels sprouts on our plate. Mom put 3 Brussels sprouts on our plate and 3 broccoli. And I say, or Mom says to me, if you eat 1 broccoli and 2 Brussels sprouts, you don't have to eat any more vegetables for that day. And they're like, okay, let's see.
Like, I could do this.
Yeah. And then you see the kids being super dramatic and they're like, oh,
that was me.
I can't do it. But that's something that's a form of positive reinforcement. The aversive is having to eat is just eating the vegetables, period. But you're saying you're putting contingently, like if you eat these 3.
You meant to say negative reinforcement.
Correct? Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. That's a form of negative reinforcement because we're taking away something aversive, eating the vegetables that they don't like. They say, hey, contingently, if you eat these three vegetables, you don't have to eat the other 3. And they're like, done.
Right, because wouldn't you rather eat less if you really don't like something?
For sure.
More, like I think of Fear Factor, like if they gave you like a bowl of worms that you had to eat, like if what is his name, Joe Rogan, if he was like, oh, you only have to eat 3 after you eat like this whole brain, like cow brain. Okay, like that's great. I'm removing, instead of eating all the worms.
You just want to eat the one. But that's really what the kid has to decide. They have to be like, am I worth this? Now, what I do have to warn you guys against is when you put a contingency put in place, you do not waver. It's important that you do not so then if the kid starts compromising, they're like, how about I eat 2 broccolis and 1 Brussels sprouts? You have to decide, if I comment on this, what's going to happen the next time I give him a plate of vegetables?
They're going to try to compromise again and again.
And again. So now we're looking at a completely different behavior with that compromising. So I'm just warning you, like if you want to go ahead with the compromise, if your battle more is eating the vegetables, so be it, whatever. But then in my opinion, why didn't you just say eat 3 pieces of vegetables and then move on?
Right.
But so just be wary that if you you put that contingency in place and then you start to bargain or you start to compromise with them on what can happen, it's important that you are aware that the behavior that you're going to continue to see increase because you've given attention. The consequence that happened immediately after was positive reinforcement of attention. You gave attention to that compromising behavior. Sounds super confusing, but when you really think about it, like your kid, said, how about I pick up just my shoes today? And then you can pick up the rest. And you're just like, fine, pick up your shoes. The next time you ask them to pick up, they're like, I'm just going to pick up my Legos this time. That's the battle you're going to start having.
Yeah. And we have more examples at the end.
Perfect.
If anybody's not getting this, I don't see any comments. If anybody's not getting it,
cool.
We can give more comments, or examples, I mean.
Awesome.
So punishment, remember, we use punishment to decrease the future frequency of similar behavior. So punishment has occurred when a behavior is followed immediately by a change that decreases the future frequency of a similar behavior. So positive punishment. Did you have a specific example you wanted to give?
Well, I'm just thinking like you add or give something aversive. So I'm going to add timeout. That is supposed to decrease behavior. Negative punishment is removing something preferred. So I'm going to remove the iPad from the child's possession for X amount of time, and that's going to decrease the behavior. The really, 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 really times a bajillion times, truthfully, is you need to see decrease in behavior. If you take away that iPad every time they hit their sibling, and you keep taking away the iPad, and you keep taking away the iPad, and you keep taking away the iPad, that is not a form of negative punishment because it's not working. The behavior keeps happening.
It hitting their sister, so it's not working.
Hitting their sister. With positive punishment, we add or give something aversive. If you keep sending them to timeout, and you have to keep sending them and sending them and sending them to timeout, you're not decreasing behavior. And here's a really great example of it in a school perspective. I'm going to add something aversive. I send Maria to the office. She's done something that's inappropriate. I say, Maria, go to the office. The next day, Maria, go to the office. The next day, Maria, go to the office.
It's like my home away from home. Sorry.
I love that. And is the behavior decreasing or increasing? Maria?
It's increasing.
It's increasing. So in actuality, what I thought was a punishment, a form of punishment, is actually a form of positive reinforcement.
Gotcha.
I have added something. And see, the thing is, because we don't think about what's in that, we have control of the current setting we're in. But once we send that child to the office, I have no control of who's going to interact with that child. I have no idea. I have no control of what's going to be given to that child to do. A lot of times I would
listen, Kate, I get candy when I go to the office, or I get all the attention I want. So
all the attention
keep sending me.
Or, they would give them these jobs, you see kids doing these jobs, like, you're doing a bathroom break and you see the student you sent to the office now doing mail runs. Like,
I used to love doing that when I got sent to the office.
Exactly.
Because I escaped that homework or that work that I didn't want to do.
Yeah, that's so much more exciting. So it's just
it wasn't a punishment thing. It was reinforcing for me.
For sure.
Teachers, I'm so sorry.
So now think about it at home. That kid yells at you or says, or pinches their sister or hits their brother, and you say, go to your room. Well, if we're doing homework and we say, go to your room, all my play stuff is in my bedroom. Done. I'm going to go. Let's go. I want to have fun. Let's do it. If we're outside and I'm doing all these fun tricks on the trampoline and mom's only paying attention to the younger sibling, and I'm like, fine. We punch the sibling, right? And we say, go to your room. I'll be in there in 2 minutes. You know what I mean? What happens is we've now had them escape the situation that the attention's being given to the sibling. And they know as soon as I go to my room, mom's going to come in my bedroom and I'm going to have all their attention on me and not the younger sibling.
And one thing that I don't think we touched about last time, please use reinforcement first before you decide to use like a punishment procedure. Like that is just use reinforcement. Really, this is like our last resort. type of deal because,
Yeah.
usually reinforcement just works.
Yeah. And it's just important for you to think about that. Like for us ethically, when we have to move into the land of a punishment procedure, even with positive or punishment or negative punishment, we have to really do a kind of evaluation to make sure that it's, if it's
do that risk analysis.
Risk analysis,
a whole thing, like to make sure, like not that punishment is bad, because remember, all it is decreasing, but really we need to use reinforcement first and exhaust all our options.
Yep. And I mean, it's important that you have to consider, that self-injurious behavior. We're not going to allow a self-injurious behavior, like if they're hitting their head like this. We're not going to let that, as soon as they stop, we're going to say, oh, good job stopping. No, like we need to put in place that they stop. We're going to put that on immediate extinction.
Right. Which I don't even know if we actually do one on extinction, which we could if we wanted to.
Definitely could. Actually, that's a really good idea. So
we write that down. I don't have a pen because every time we think of an idea, I never can. You're like, Maria, what was that? And I was like, I have no idea.
I don't remember. So we've talked about punishment. We've talked about reinforcement. We've given a ton of examples. We've messed up ourselves and then we've corrected ourselves because that's life.
Yeah.
So what's the difference again? R and P. R is reinforcement. It increases. P is punishment. It decreases. Now, you can see positive or negative with reinforcement and punishment. Just remember that with positive, something is being added, and with negative, something is being taken away.
Cool.
Even if really talk about this. Like if you guys are watching this and you're like, Maria and Kate have talked and rambled on about a lot of stuff, mostly Kate.
We do that.
We do. Take a picture of this slide. Just take a picture. That's why I'm like rambling some more, to give you time to get your phone out, take the picture, and have a conversation with your partner or a buddy and being like, what am I doing? I keep coming to you that's like, I'm really upset about this. Am I reinforcing it or am I punishing it? And break it down like Maria said. Like, so easy.
Yeah. And for me, I just have to say it out loud. That's for each example, I was like, okay, so positive reinforcement, we are adding something preferred to increase the behavior. Positive punish, just walk it out. You can easily get tongue twisted.
And I think with you, walking it out like that, especially when you're getting started on it, you may realize that you're not doing anything wrong, but maybe you realize for that behavior you don't want to see keep happening. It keeps happening because maybe you are implementing reinforcement. Right. Maria and I have said over and over again, we are the last people to judge. We are just here to help and inform. So now that you're like, oh,
like, uh-oh,
I've been reinforcing that behavior. That's okay. What about the next, what are you going to do the next time that behavior happens? Are you going to keep doing it, or are you going to change it now? Think of it that way.
I just keep thinking about our cats, how if our cats are crying, we reinforce their bad behavior all the time.
Do as we say, not as we do.
All right.
Comes our cats. So we understand how hard it is. That's what we're trying to say.
We get it.
We get it. So game time. Here, you're going to say, Maria, I'm going to have you play it, okay?
Okay.
I see that people are listening, but I think we might be a little intimidated to comment. So game time. Number 1, what's the function? Number 2, is it reinforcement or punishment? And number 3, is it negative or positive?
You don't have to tip. People can't hear you walking. Sorry, Dave's tiptoeing really quietly.
We could go into a whole different kind of conversation.
Yeah.
So Tim completed all of his chores every day this week. Tim's father told him he no longer had to take out the trash since he completed all his chores. In the future, let's say that he did them through the week and now the weekend's here and Tim's dad said that. In the future, Tim completes his chores every day so he doesn't have to take out the trash. Now,
I want to break this down.
Yeah, break it down. Let's start backwards.
That's what I was going to do. Go ahead.
Yes. Number 3, is it positive or negative, Maria?
So Tim completes his chores every day in the future. So that behavior is being increased. So it's
Reinforcement. Now, because something is being taken away, right? So it's we're doing 2, 3, 1. Because something is being taken away, that aversive of taking out the trash, does that mean we are using positive or negative reinforcement?
So we are removing something, him taking out the trash. I think most people don't like taking out the trash.
I hate taking out the trash.
Okay, so removing something aversive. So that's negative. So negative reinforcement.
Which I love this because it's like, wait, my kid is still doing the appropriate behavior. Yes.
Yes.
My kid continues to keep doing the appropriate behavior. Yes. But I use something negative. Absolutely, because you're using negative reinforcement. Now, what is the function of his behavior? We can hypothesize from this because it continues to happen. Tim completes his chores every day so he doesn't have to take out the trash. He is avoiding. Yeah. There's this level of avoidance, right? And so but with negatively reinforcing completing his chores, he's like, if I do my chores, then I can avoid taking out the trash. Cool. There we go. Next question.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
I got a text that somebody was watching. I was excited.
Yay. Comment if you would like. Marquise often went to school with his hair unbrushed. Ooh, I love this one. But on his birthday, he decided to get a little fancy. Marquise brushed his hair, and a little girl in his class complimented him on how nice it looked. So,
okay, so start at the end again?
No, let's start with 2, the increase or decrease. Does the behavior is clearly brushing his hair, right?
Right.
Do we have it in here? Marquise brushed his hair a little.
It's supposed to say in the future, because remember, it always
needs to
say in the future.
So in the future, so what we see here is a behavior. The behavior is brushing his hair, right? So let's say in the future, he keeps brushing his hair. What does that mean?
He is increasing. So that behavior is continuing to happen in the future. So we know right away that's reinforcement, right, Kate?
Yep. And awesome. So then is something being added or something being taken away?
So let's see. Somebody complimented him on how nice it looked. So we are adding something preferred. So positive reinforcement.
Yes, it is. So we are working with positive reinforcement here. And let's think. I'm thinking the function, I'm going to hypothesize based on this scenario and us predicting. I'm hypothesizing the function of Marquise's behavior is attention. He wants to get the attention of this little girl.
Yeah. Right? I would want nice, compliments all the time. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people, I think it's really common that the function of behavior is attention a lot of times.
So I want to take this situation right here and put it in perspective a little differently. When I worked with students, I still work with students, but as a teacher, I would think that I would give praise all the time. I was trying to build that rapport, that relationship, and I'd say, good job, Billy. So if a student said the correct answer, like at circle time or something, I'd say, great job, you answered that question, fantastic. And then what I would notice is that student stopped answering questions. So, and I'd be like, and I thought about it, and it's like, oh, that praise wasn't reinforcing, it was actually what?
Punishing.
It was actually punishing. And I did it without even thinking about it.
I think we've all done it.
Well, and I think it's funny because, we all have this term praise. Praise is something good. So it's going to be a reinforcer, right? It's from the perspective of the child and the individual. Mm-hmm. So in that case, I had to make sure that I didn't give that child praise in front of peers because they found that to be very punishing. And so that their behavior of answering questions correctly decreased significantly. Mm-hmm. So it's like here in this situation with Marquise, if maybe he was in that stage where girls still had cooties and he's like, ew, gross. And let's say the future frequency of Marquise's behavior was to to not brush his hair at all and make sure there was gum in there, or something weird to make it look a little dirtier.
Yeah.
What did we see? That little girl saying his hair looked nice when he brushed it was actually super punishing. So he's going to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Right.
So just think about that.
I like that one.
Jerry pushes his little brother on the playground and his dad yells at him to stop. In the future, Jerry pushes his brother more. We talked about this one with the trampoline. And, we don't get a lot of insight to what's going on. But like we said, with the mom was giving attention to the little brother. In this case, maybe dad was paying a lot of attention to Jerry or giving equal attention to both the boys, but Jerry really wanted all the attention on him. And so his dad yells at him. Just his dad yelling at him, Jerry, stop. Jerry, stop. Jerry, stop. What's happening in this situation, Maria?
So adding something aversive. His dad is like yelling, stop. Usually most people don't like when stop is, you know, yelled at them or no or whatever. So that's adding something aversive. And then we look, it says in the future, Jerry pushes his brother more. So that behavior of pushing is increasing. So wait.
No.
No.
Go back. So let's go back. And that's okay. Jerry pushes his little brother on the playground and his dad yells at him to stop, right? Is something being added or something being removed?
His dad's, it's adding.
It's adding, right?
Yeah.
So just stop it there. Something is being added. So it's obviously positive, right?
Right.
Now, in the future, Jerry continues to push his brother more. Is the behavior increasing or decreasing?
Increasing.
So what is it?
Positive reinforcement.
It's positive reinforcement.
Okay, I was going to say that.
You were so, I know, you were like, wait, I don't like to hear yelling, so it's automatically negative. That's the problem, is that we take it from the perspective of ourselves. I don't like to be yelled at, so that makes my behavior stop.
Oh, I'm glad I did that now.
So if I yell at my child to stop doing that, that means they're going to stop, right? No, because in this situation, Jerry just really wanted attention from his dad. Saying good job or yelling has the exact same effect as not getting attention. Like, you know what I mean? So he's like, dad's not saying good job enough to me. So if I push my brother, though, he seems to tell me to stop a lot more. Okay, I'll take it. It's better than getting nothing. And that's what's happened in this situation. But I'm so glad that you were able to, you're like, wait.
No, I was looking at it and I was like, nope. What?
Yeah, we're looking at it from the perspective of the individual and not ourselves, which is very hard. And that's why it's hard for everybody. That's why it was awesome. Like, I love sitting here and I'm like, is she going to pick up on it? Is she? And she did.
And it's funny because we've done this presentation before.
So many times. We do it, and we do like alternatives. Yeah.
All right.
Anna's children were fighting because they both wanted to play with the new toy. Ooh. Anna removed the new toy. In the future, Anna's children rarely argue over the new toys so that it doesn't get taken away. Wow, that's a dream.
Right.
Dreams. So let's see. Let's redeem yourself, Maria.
Okay.
So is something being added or removed?
Removed, because Anna removed the new toy. So you're removing something preferred. Am I allowed to jump to conclusion that new toy is preferred, or should I not?
Well, I just want us to start, like, is something being removed, positive or negative?
It is definitely negative.
Negative. Now jump ahead.
All right. So then in the future, Anna's children rarely argue over the new toy. So the arguing is being decreased. So we know that's punishment. And if we know that removal is negative, so it's negative punishment.
Yep.
Did I redeem myself?
You definitely redeemed yourself. And I think, the function of the behavior here is they're wanting to maintain access. So they want to maintain access to this item because they don't want to lose it again like it did before. And so that's what we're seeing here. Awesome.
Oh, we have more.
I think this is our last one. Tommy puts away his toys. Tommy's mother praised him for putting away his toys. In the future, Tommy continues to put away his toys after playing. Super simple. Something's being added. Praise. Tommy Tommy keeps doing it. It's increasing. So it's obviously positive reinforcement.
Awesome. Yep. All right. We can, after this one, we'll just stop. I didn't realize we added more.
No. This one's a good one because it's looking at whose behavior are we looking at. Lauren's new dog, Kipper, cries in the middle of the night. So Lauren, hating the crying, gets up and lets Kipper outside. Kipper's crying stops. Lauren continues to let Kipper out in the middle of the night when Kipper starts to cry. I don't care about Kipper's behavior personally. I'm more focused on Lauren's behavior.
Yeah, Lauren.
So Lauren's new, and my cat Ricky does this too. Lauren's behavior is she hears something, Maria, right? She hears this crying. Is that something that she wants to hear or doesn't want to hear?
I would say doesn't want to hear.
She doesn't want to hear it. So is she adding something or removing something?
She wants to remove the crying.
She removes the crying. How does she remove that crying, Maria?
She puts Kipper outside or lets Kipper outside.
So she lets Kipper outside. So with that one little situation, have we added or removed something? We've removed. So we know we're in negative land, right? Mm-hmm. Now, Lauren continues to let Kipper out in the middle of the night when Kipper starts to cry. So the behavior of letting Kipper out keeps increasing. So that means in this situation, we are negatively reinforcing this behavior.
This is me and Biggie every night.
So let's think about kids, okay?
Okay.
And I'm going to say timeout. Okay, we have decided to put the child in timeout, and they go into timeout and they start screaming and crying. They're like, no, don't let me come out of timeout. No. And they walk out of the room. They come to your lap. You go and put them back. They walk out. Eventually you get tired, right? You're tired of picking the child up, putting them back in the room. You're tired of getting up, putting them back and forth. So you decide to take the child out of the room, right? So that behavior stops. So are we negatively or are we adding something or removing something? And I'm not talking about the child. I'm talking about.
What was the last? Sorry, I missed what you said.
What's very aversive to us.
Right. The crying or like the kid running around.
The crying and the fact that we as the adult have to keep getting up and putting the kid back in the room, getting up, putting them back, putting them up, like going back and forth. That's aversive to us. We want that to stop.
Right.
So what do? We just take them out, right?
Right.
Or we just stay in the room with them, right? So let's say, what are we doing?
Reinforcing.
But is something being added or something being removed? Let's start there.
Okay. Taking away something?
We're taking away something. For the adult, we are taking away the aversive of having to get up and back and forth, or listening to the crying or the pounding or like the agonizing screams of like, why, mommy, why?
Academy Award winning over here.
Yes. And so we have, we're removing something. Now, timeout, you've recognized over the past couple of weeks doesn't seem to be working because it keeps happening over and over and over again. And in the end, you end up having to stay in the room, or you end up picking up the child and holding them on the couch.
Yep.
So in this case, is the behavior increasing or decreasing? And I'm not even talking about the kid's behavior. I'm talking about the parent's behavior. Is the parent's behavior continuing to sit in the room with the child, or take the
increasing?
Out? It's increasing. So what we are doing it for us is we are negatively reinforcing the behavior of putting our child in timeout.
And also we've talked about,
sense?
It does, but we've talked about timeout a lot. I think we've given like 3 examples. We're not saying that timeout is the procedure we want you guys to use. Remember, timeout's a punishment procedure. We're always going to want to use reinforcement first. I just wanted to throw that in real quick. I don't want anybody to be like, they said timeout.
No, yeah, I think that's a perfect example. I like to look at that from the parent's perspective, because we focus a lot on the kids, and then we're like, well, how do we we're wanting to change the behavior of the kids. No, you're completely correct. But sometimes
it's with us.
Yeah, sometimes it starts with that. And so, we have to think of how do we change the behavior? Well, the intervention is mom is not going to have you removed. Like, you're not going to come out of the bedroom, or mommy's not going to sit in the bed with you.
Yeah.
Just thinking about that. Oh, good. So real quick roundup. Reinforcement will always increase behavior. Punishment will always, or it should, if it's true punishment, it should decrease behavior. If it's true reinforcement, it should increase. Reinforcer should be something that can be given quickly and also removed quickly. Reinforcer can serve the function. It should serve the function of the problem of for the behavior. I'm getting tongue twisted now. And then access to the reinforcer should be clearly defined.
Yep.
remember that punishment should match the behavior. So it's like, okay, they like, and this is why punishment sometimes can get a really bad rap, is because, like, you know, like the kid didn't write their name. Oh, you're missing 15 minutes of recess. No, that doesn't match. But remember, it should be a last resort. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to look, we're going to be rude now. We're going to like go throughout Facebook.
I don't see anything right now, personally. But you guys can always email us. I didn't put my email on here. Can I say my email, Kate? Is that okay?
Yeah. Say it.
So you can email me at maria@ebcsus.com if you have any questions. Usually we put our email on here. So if you guys have a question or you're not sure what to use, I've got time. I would love to hear about some new stuff. We're always open. We're not judgmental.
Nope. We're here to help. Like, you guys hurt. Like, just as much as we're not judgmental of you, we hope that you're not judgmental of us. You know, if you need to ask us, like, I'm worried that I might be increasing the future frequency, or I might be the reason, like, what I'm doing is increasing the behavior. Help. Please ask. We are not going to be judging, and we want to help you. So just like, you know, we made our mistake in explaining it, we corrected it. We're going to talk with you, and we're going to talk about what can you do to change for the next time. We can't fix the past, but we can fix we can work to addressing the future. So that's something that we want to help you with. So again, this is a very confusing topic, and we're not ashamed to say it's still confusing to us, because it's just confusing. It's just confusing. So again, thank you for your patience in our rambling. Please feel free to message us, comment.
We'll be back next Monday.
Yeah,
we'll either do extinction now that we've thought about that, or I can't remember what's next. I think
pre-MAC principle.
Pre-MAC principle, which is, just to give a little preface, that first do this, then you can get that preferred item.
And you can get this.
It's like one of my favorite things in the world. So I hope you guys come.
So thanks for listening to our rambling, and we hope that within the rambling you found something helpful and useful. Hope you have a great one. Okay, you guys? Bye.
Bye.